G'day guys, welcome back to another video. Signing off the last video, I said I'd leave you with Rex. However, getting here today, I'm not sure that he did anything while over the weekend, pretty much. So I had a massive weekend. Back here today, just finishing off some stuff. I'm trying to do some tidy up, but there's sort of not a lot that I can do as far as because of this car still being in pieces and all over the place. So, like, a lot of the stuff just needs to stay out where it is because it all has to go back in the car, or it's all, you know, earmarked for things to finish off the car. So, can't really go packing a lot of it up, which is just, it is an annoyance, but it is what it is. But once it's done and back together, we'll be able to completely clear this place out and really clean it up properly. But so today, we've had a pretty good day. Rex and Dad have actually started getting back into the rest of the panels for this car, which is awesome. So this is something that was holding us up with this project. Has been a lot of late, just holding up the panel work that needed to be done because we needed some good days to do it. Today's not so humid and obviously not wet, which is sort of the best day we've had so far to get a lot of this stuff done. So as you can see, repairs are being made. It's we're working towards trying to get all these panels all done so that the car can start going back together even further. Apart from that, mechanically it's just about there, just a few little loom things for Rex to finish off before we can start the car. So hopefully we can get the car sort of back together, finished off, get it running. We'll get this place properly cleaned up so that we can get the dyno in here and set up the dyno as well. And then it can go on the rollers and then we can see what sort of power it's going to make. Hopefully a fair bit. So the plan is to actually move pretty much all of this pallet racking out, sort of underneath the dome under the containers, because we sort of don't want all this in the shed while we've got the dyno here. Trying to work around it, you know, there's going to be heaps of stuff happening all at once. Because we're going to need it for it to be making a lot of money. So, but as you can see, this is full of R31 stuff that needs to go back into this car. So again, sort of need to get this car together so that this is all clear, so that we can move this out there, so that we can put all the stuff off that rack onto there, and then that rack can go so that the engine room can get set up in here, and the dyno can be set up here, and this will be gone, but everything will still be undercover out there. But yeah, it's sort of priority number one is get this car friggin' back together. So my other plan for this week, as you know from my signing off the last video, was to actually get my car finally finished, get the catch can and stuff sorted. But once again, you know, with painting and everything going on in the shed here, don't really want to be doing too much other stuff just because of how touchy it can be with the paint. But the good thing is, once this thing's painted and sort of back together, that's going to be the last thing we're going to be painting for a while. So like all of the painting gear can sort of get packed back away and frees up a bit of space and stuff as well. It's just hard to do everything at once when we're not properly set up, but you know, by the time we actually have an engine room to put engines together in, by the time we have that booth set up a little bit better, it won't matter so much when we're painting. But for now, it's just, yeah, there's crap everywhere. So we're working at it. It's coming together. It'll get there. So now, given all this, I'm hoping that I can get my 31 sort of up here, or maybe around Wednesday. Today's Monday, so in sort of 2 days, I'm hoping to be able to get my 31 up here and really start getting cracking on that. Get it sort of done and cleaned up, and get videos and photos to this bloke who's looking at buying it, so that he can make his decision. We need to sort of unload the trailer so that we can go. We've got to go get our engine room on the weekend, so probably Saturday we'll go get our engine room. So yeah, still so much to do. Never stops. Righto guys, hope you enjoyed that little mashup. I didn't want to do too much more just because I don't want to stay in the booth for too long just because I don't have long sleeves and stuff like that. And anyone who's painted with 2-pack knows that it's real sticky and sticks to your arm hairs and it's a pain in the bum. So I didn't come prepared, so I'm not going to stay in the booth for too long. But you get the idea. It is the same thing as what we did to the shell, so I'm not going to go too in depth of filming it because it would just be repeating things all over again, which I'm sure you don't particularly need to hear. So, yeah, we'll pick this up once this is done. That's going to be it for now. I'll continue this video in a bit, just because otherwise it's just going to be repeating the same stuff. But as you can see from that, the guards have come up pretty good. All the door repairs have been done, so it's just a matter of, yeah, you know, just layers of paint, coats of paint, and hopefully we get all this sort of painted today. So it's all done today. That fan that's actually a fan that came with the dyno. That's one of the single phase dyno fans, which we've got set up to just try and get everything out of the shed, which is working a treat. It's working really well, so very loud though. Very, very loud. But yeah, that fan's working awesome. It's a lot of these extractor fans, so little extractor fans get everything out of the booth. Big fan just gets it out of the shed. So that's working awesome. So good that looking from here, I'm probably gonna go wind up the windows to my car because it's probably filling up with 2-pack overspray. But yeah, we'll catch this up fairly soon. Righto guys, it is a new day. Painting's come along pretty well. We've got another really good day out here today by the looks of things, so hopefully we can use today to really get this thing sorted, all the painter work finished off and sort of done. So fingers crossed that works out today. My mission for today also is to get this freaking catch can sorted for my car. So these are the old oil lines off the original oil cooler setup that was on this car beforehand, which obviously Rex is not using because he's gone all to black lines. So I did want to do my catch can with all black lines and fittings. However, it seems kind of pointless when there's all of these lines and fittings down there. This is probably a good couple of $100 worth of lines and fittings. And that being said, nothing else in my engine bay was, you know, really the way I wanted it to be as far as black goes. A lot of it is red and blue, so it'll probably actually look pretty good in there with these lines. So I've just got these soaking in this degreaser just to try and clean up the lines a bit because they're all oily and gross. And then I'll clean them out with brake clean, make sure they're all cleaned out, because we've had some problems with that oil cooler setup having metal in it and stuff. Not that it really is a big deal for a catch can setup because it's shouldn't be recycling anything anyway, but I will clean them out with brake cleaner, make sure they're properly cleaned out. So I've got what I was going to originally do with this catch can setup was, which you would have seen probably a good couple of blue moons ago when I started this. It's been dragging on for a long time, that's my fault. But I was going to use this steel wool to actually baffle the breather to the intake. But however, the more I looked into it, the more I read a lot of horror stories about this steel wool actually breaking down with oil and being sucked into the intake, which obviously being metallic is the last thing you want. So what I've done instead is I just went and bought some of these cheap scour pads. They're not so fine and apparently they don't break down, which makes a bit of sense. So I'm going to use those instead of the really fine steel wool as far as baffling goes. And I think I went through how the catch can is going to be set up when I first did it ages ago, so I won't go into that now. I'm not going to go too much into filming my welding on this because if you remember when I first did it, my welding was atrocious. That was a good couple of weeks ago. I have not welded since. I doubt that I'm going to do much better, and I'm not exactly super proud of it. So I'll just show you just what it looks like when it's finished. I'm going to paint it black to sort of hide all the welds. As you've seen, I sort of polished a lot of the welds out so that hopefully I can just spray a coat of black over it and it'll look fine. Again, it's only a catch can. It's not like it should be under pressure or anything like that, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Just as long as it doesn't leak, which I don't think it will. So I've got all my fittings here to sort out as well. I've also got a welder fitting. I've also got a welder fitting onto my intake. And I've also decided that instead of going straight from this catch can, from the baffle, straight to the intake, what I'm actually going to do is go from this catch can to a second catch can, which is just going to be a pass-through, and then to the intake. So it just gives it that extra bit of buffer in case it does decide to pick up oil. Last thing I want it to do is suck a heap of oil in through that intake. I don't believe it will, but you know, just in case. You never know. So just about the hardest thing as far as this is going to be at the moment is going to be just finding a place to weld. Obviously we've got crap everywhere, all over everything where I would normally set up to weld. So I think I'm going to have to bring in the sawhorses, set them up as a bit of a welding table, and just set up to weld here and try and get it done this morning before it gets too hot in here. Will be the way to go. So I've cleaned up them lines, so they're all nice and clean. I've just left it on the bonnet here, the 31, to sort of just dry out or whatever. I'll probably have to trim some of them up, change some fittings around to make everything work. I do have some spare black braid as well, which I should be able to use them fittings on. Not necessarily the right fittings for the line that I've got, but like I said, it's only a catch can, it shouldn't be under pressure, so they shouldn't leak anyway. So that should be fine. So if I need to, I've got more line there if I need to make different lengths, and I can just use those fittings. So this is what I've set up as my little welding station for the day. It's about the best I could do with what I had. Those sawhorses were just too low. I was going to be welding like crouched over, hunched over, wasn't going to work. So I'm going to start by getting the fittings onto this catch can, which I'm going to have to shut this door for because it is windy AF. And you'll get heaps of crap in the world if you leave it open. So I'm going to go on with that for now, and hopefully get this all welded in before it's too late. I'll give you before it gets too hot, I mean. I'll give you a look when I sort of sort out my baffling, so I can show you exactly what I'm trying to do there, my idea with that. But apart from that, I'll just go on welding it up. Rightio guys, so I got the fittings welded on, which I'll show you once it's done, and I can actually show you. They're not too bad. I did have a lot of problems though. That helmet was not auto darkening properly. It had heaps of delay, even though the delay was set all the way up, and eventually it just stopped shading at all. So I had to go for a drive, get a new button battery for it, which I put in it. Still doing some weird things where it flashes, but it's mostly working, so that's okay. I just wanted to show you what I was doing for baffling as far as this went. So you can see down there I've just got a bit of a separator plate which is just tacked in, along with that plate which just holds the steel wool up towards the top of that fitting, where obviously that one's going to go towards the intake, and I've left a gap at the back. Now the idea is that air has to come in and then it has to change direction. So the idea of the steel wool, or the scouring sponge things, these things that I put in it that I showed you before. So there's two of those in it as well, underneath there, which are held in obviously by all that steel which is tacked in. The idea is that these will separate the oil from, like, the vapors from the air that's coming through there. Absolute pain in the ass, would not ever do this again. As you can see, I've had a lot of trouble in there trying to tack that together. Just trying to get the torch in there, trying to get filler in there. You can't see, I've got really bad depth perception as it is because my eyes are shit. But yeah, absolute prick of a job. Would not recommend doing this at all. It's doing all them tacks as well. It's completely warped the piece now, so the base hardly fits at all properly. It's just made the whole thing a real pain in the ass. So I'm glad I'd already decided to paint it black, because if I hadn't already decided to do that, I definitely would have to now. But yeah, 0 out of 10 wouldn't recommend. This is a real pain in the dick. Rightio guys, really starting to warm up in this shed. So here we have more or less a vision of the final product almost. So you can see that's my little 1/8 MPT, which is going to be for the drain, which I've just welded on. I've welded the base on, which is absolutely horrendous. You can see how much this piece is warped. Luckily that's the base and at the back, so it's really tucked up. You're not going to see that very much. I still have to sort of polish out the welds on the base the same way I have the other sides a little bit. So I've still got to do that. That's a bit of a pain because it takes ages. And you can see my 4 fittings in here. This part in here was a really big challenge. I've never sort of attempted something like that before. That was pretty hard. So, you know, certainly nothing to write home about this piece. Very much not a very nice piece by any means, but a lot of new experiences for me on the TIG in this piece. A lot of things I hadn't tried yet. You can see down that fitting there where that steel wool scrunch thing is. So yeah, that's pretty much what the piece is going to look like. I still have to weld on some tabs to actually mount it where I want to mount it. So that's my next job, is to actually bring my car up here and start looking at how I'm going to mount it, so I can weld on some tabs and actually make some mounting tabs. And yeah, like I said, polish out them welds a bit, and then it can get a coat of paint, and hopefully it won't look so dog ugly. But you know, everything's practice. Even if it doesn't come out that great, still practice, and it still serves a purpose. Obviously it's going to do its job and hopefully not leak. But yeah, it's certainly pretty hard when I don't have my own like gillo and pan brake and that sort of stuff. Like there's not really any way for me to make that base fit properly except for cutting it up with the grinder and doing some old welding techniques. But anyway, we got it done, which is the main thing. And there, so I'll bring my car up, have a look how I'm going to mount it, make some mounting tabs, and I still have to weld my -10 onto my intake pipe. So still a bit to do. So I've had to just have a bit of a pause just because Rex is pretty much ready to lay down some more paint on these panels. And as you saw from the setup earlier in this video, it does sort of fill the shed with overspray still. As much as we try and extract it out as much as we can, when the wind is coming from the front side of the shed and blowing towards the back, this is ultimately the setup we are reduced to. It's what we have to do. It does work pretty well in just pushing all the overspray out the door, but the shed does still fill up. And that being said, if Rex is spraying, this is the only door that we want to open. We want to keep that door closed, which means this is the only door I'd be able to park my car at, which would mean my car will get covered in overspray anyway. So given that the weather conditions are what they are and what they have been in the past, it sort of takes priority to get these panels painted so they're done. So hopefully I'll get to that sort of the rest of that this afternoon. If not, it'll be tomorrow's job. It's not a big deal. And we also have heaps of other stuff to do this week as well. We've got to move that, and yeah, it's just, anyway, we've got heaps of work to do. Anyway, once again, painting is painting. You've seen it before. I'm not going to bother really filming it again. So I've sort of got it in there somewhat where it's going to be situated. Old trick I do with this is I sort of measured where I wanted those, welded on my tangs, like my mounting bars, and then I just pre-drilled them and then tech screwed them where I wanted them to be. That way each tech screws out, you know exactly where to drill your holes to put your nutserts. So I've whacked nutserts in down here and up here, which is where how the catch can mounts. And I am using the leftover bolts I had from when I did my guards, little red circly ones, so that those bolts that bolt this catch can in actually match all the other bolts in the engine bay. So that's how that's going to be. Obviously I have to still remove this and paint it, so that's why I haven't completely fixed it in there yet. The other thing is down here is the little 1/2 inch fuel petcock. So that goes to a 1/8 MPT to 1/4 inch straight barb on the bottom, which is why I welded that 1/8 MPT bung in the bottom. And that's just routed down and is drilled through the inner guard just here, and it just pops out right under there like so. So this way, if you're at the track, you know, parked up in the pitch, just turn hard right like this, you can whack a little container down there and just reach in here, turn the fuel petcock to on, and it should just drain your catch can, and that should give you a pretty good indication of how much you're filling up your catch can at the track on a track day. Very easy to drain it. You don't have to, you know, take it out, tip it upside down, do all that sort of stuff. You don't have to muck around with the lines or anything like that. You just simply turn that petcock and drain the catch can, which is really easy. So awesome that someone else is going to be able to use all this and I don't get to it all, but that's just how it goes. And that'll just zip tie up to that hard line there, just so that it's kept there in situ. So anyway, time to pull this back out and paint it now. Sort of glad we're coming to the end of it. I am really hoping that painting that hides a lot of sins in it because it looks pretty terrible. But it's, like I said, it's going to work, so that's the main thing. So what I'm going to do then, as I explained, we've got one to the sump, two to the cover. This one at the front, which is baffled, is going to come to the front here to another catch can, which is just going to be a pass-through. And then out of that catch can is going to go back into main take. And obviously the idea of that is to draw out pressure. So that's how this setup is going to work. And you know, that's going to make this ring gap not so much a problem, which is good because the extra ring gap makes it really safe. So all of a sudden your blow bar is not so much of an issue because it's not blowing oil everywhere. It's actually catching the oil the way it's supposed to and drawing it back through. And yeah, more boost equals happier motor. But anyway, I'm sure someone else will sort that out. I'm really hoping I can one day buy this back again. See how we go. So getting some paint on this thing. Actually mixed up some black enamel, so it should be really hard and sort of tough and stay black hopefully. Doesn't look that much better, but a little bit better. But yeah, whatever. So painting that up, mount hole's ready to go. So that's getting pretty close to being ready to go in. While I'm waiting between coats on that, I figured the next issue that I've been well documenting with this car, that you've all seen, is the fact that I keep having issues with my wastegate reference line popping off the wastegate. So the biggest issue with that is that the wastegate has this straight nipple here, which points directly at the shock tower, and with the line, it's always sort of had to come in and do like a weird sort of turn. And yeah, it's always just been a real pain. It's always had to do that 90-degree sort of thing, and I think once it heats up and it's got that pressure on it going backwards, it sort of just decides to split and pop off. And not to mention is after it does that, because it's so hot in here, after you turn the car off, like back in the pits,
it takes ages to wait for it to cool down so you can get the line back on properly. So I've tried everything. I've tried this heat sleeving ceramic stuff. I've tried zip ties, different sorts of zip ties, stainless ones, all sorts of stuff, but it just keeps on breaking down and splitting. So my answer to that is this is a little whatever fitting to -4 that's meant to go into that Turbo Smart wastegate, to that reference port. So instead of that nipple, I will have this AN fitting, which I then have this right angle 2/4 inch adapter. So this way it's going to hopefully point straight back up towards the firewall a bit more, away from the shock tower, so that this rubber line is not under any sort of pressure. So it's not trying to sort of push and twist or do anything. So I'm hoping with that. The other thing is I'll actually be able to get that ceramic sock all the way over the rubber line, whereas when it's going into a nipple on an angle, you can only get it up so far. You can't actually get it to cover everything. Whereas with this right angle fitting on it, I'll be able to get that ceramic sock all the way up over that right angle and even zip tie it up there and hopefully completely protect that rubber reference line. So that should hopefully completely erase that issue, which is one more issue that I'm getting rid of this car before I sell it, which is a shame. I'm so heartbroken about having to sell this thing, guys. It pains me. Like I said, it's two blokes from New Caledonia that want to buy it to drift it at Archie while they're on holidays. So fingers crossed. I'll let them know when I sell it to them. Or if it all goes ahead anyway. But fingers crossed, I'll let it know when I sell it to them that if they decide they want to sell it at the end of their holiday, I don't know if they plan on sort of being back and forth and leaving it at Archerfield or whatever, but I'll let them know that if they decide they want to sell it, to let me know first, because I'll be very interested in buying it back. Hopefully by then, we've sort of got the dyno operational, everything's sort of running along here, and we're back on our feet enough that I can afford to just buy it back, and hopefully by then they haven't completely binned it into heaps of stuff. But I do not predict that they are buying it to be kind to it. I would predict that they are buying it to drive it at Archie and full send it, which is fair enough. As sad as it'll be to see, it's fair enough. It's what they want it for. It's just, I don't know, it's one of those things, like I built the car, I wanted to do that with the car, and you know, I was always like, oh, I don't want to bend the car, it's too nice and straight, I want to put it back on the street, I don't really want to bend it, and now chances are I'm probably going to sell it to someone who's going to bend it anyway. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Anyway, it's been an awesome car. Alright, let's get this wastegate sorted. Alrighty, so here is what we're working with now, people. As you can see, got the right angle on there, which gets it a lot of pressure off this soft line. It gets the whole sort of thing away further from the wastegate, which is going to stop it from getting so hot. And after I've zip tied that, I can actually slide this ceramic all the way up over all the rubber when it wants to play the game, and zip tie that up there as well, so that it completely covers all the rubber and is protecting all the rubber. And that should stop the issue with this wastegate reference popping off ever again, which is good. So, simple fix. Finally. Alrighty, and that's what it looks like. Well, on the wrong side of the bonnet thingy. Alright, so that's what it looks like when it's all together, and you can see that that ceramic sleeve covers the whole rubber, which protects it all from the heat. So this should finally never pop off again after all this time. So that's that sorted. That's just about all I can really do today while I wait for this catch can to dry before I can put it in the car. I can't particularly do my lines at this stage because I need the catch can in the car to make sure that the lines are the correct length. So there's that. This is what I was sort of talking about with putting the second catch can in. So this is where the second catch can is going to live. I'm just going to zip tie it down here. So I'm sort of in two minds at the moment as to where to put the -10 fitting on my intake, because I would like to eventually be able to take this second catch can out. All I'm really putting it in is just as a fail-safe, just in case the first catch can setup does actually fill up too fast and does actually cause this thing to suck a fair bit of oil. I would rather it suck oil into this catch can on the way through to the intake rather than suck it all straight into the intake. And this is just a way that you can check to make sure it's not doing that. I would like to think that eventually, once you're confident that it's not going to do it, you could remove this second catch can from the system and just have the first catch can venting from there straight to the intake. So that's a problem, because to have this one here, I almost need to have this -10 fitting on this side of my intake. But for what I would like to happen in the long term to delete this, I'd almost want it on this side of the intake. So I don't know. I'm in an iron about it, but I figure it's sort of a moot point because at this stage it's probably not going to be me anyway. I'm pretty much setting this car up to sell it to someone, and as far as selling it to someone goes, I definitely want this second catch can in the car for that reason that I just explained. So the chances of someone else actually doing something about it is pretty much nil as long as it works. So I'm thinking probably just put this catch can in. I'd say it's probably never going to come out. I'd say it's probably just going to stay in this car. So I may as well put my dash 10 on this side. So that may be what I'll do. So I'll have to think about that for a minute while this paint dries. I'm not going to be able to do anything else tonight as well. I'm just thinking this is something I can do today before I head off. Rightio, so there we have one dash 10 fitting welded onto my intake dose pipe, whatever you want to call it. Not a bad one, that one. Pretty happy with that, which is good because I'm pretty happy with this piece. So I would have been probably a little bit upset if I messed up that weld and messed up this piece. So anyway, that is actually now going to be it for today. That's pretty much all I can do. I'll let that catch can pretty much just dry overnight. And in the morning I'll smash that in, smash this back on, get the line sorted, and that will be the car ready to go. Apart from that, I will also tomorrow give the thing a really nice wash, probably even get into it and give it a nice buff and polish. Just because of the stuff that's been sitting on it, it's been sitting under that tree, it's got sap all over it, it really needs a good cut and polish and a buff. So probably get onto that, so it's all nice and beautiful so I can look at it and cry. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video because I am trying to shorten up my videos a little bit, and hopefully I'll just try and shorten them up and release more of them is my plan. Try and get one a day or something, that'd be nice. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, as always. Appreciate all you watching. Drop a like, smash subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and we'll see you on the next one. Catch you later. Righto, one last thing I will tack onto this episode because while I was taking my boots off, Rex was actually working on making a bracket so that the fuel door latch for his 31 actually worked. So what he did was had a look at the way mine was set up, which I've never actually noticed this because I never bothered to look this close, but the way mine's set up, someone has actually made a bracket. Try and get this right down there so you can see. So you can see this bracket here. Someone's actually made this so that it holds the latch properly, so that the fuel door works and opens and closes on the lever. Because it seems to be pretty common that the 31s, they just sort of don't really have anything there.
Because they're supposed to have a little thread that sticks out. And I believe I've never seen one, but I believe what's supposed to have on it's a little plastic nut.
Yep.
And it screws on.
So
but
it screws on and holds it there.
Yours obviously completely snapped, and I know mine was so short I couldn't get one on it. So
yeah, well, it makes sense. For whatever reason, they do break. So Rex saw that someone's made that little bracket up for mine when he had a look at mine. So he decided to quickly whip one up for his, which he has done so here. And for the first time in this car's history with us, it now has a working fuel door. So
with the new cable we put in it.
You can see that Rex's, I can actually get the GoPro in here a lot better because it's not full of crap too, but you can see Rex made another little L bracket, the same sort of setup as what mine has in it. And now Rex's fuel door works really well as also.
Look at these ones. Bam!
Bam!
It has never done that before.
Straight up.
And the stupid part is that I've owned this car for 4 years and I only ever had to put fuel in it the one time, so it's never been an issue.
Oh, terrible. So yeah, now it's got a fuel door that actually works and operates properly. And Rex figured that out because the fuel door's been painted, so he went and put it back on the car. Anyway, now I'll sign off the video. So cheers guys, catch you later again.